The Will Smith slap situation occurred back in 2022 at the Oscars against Chris Rock. We all know that he's been desperately trying to revitalize, essentially, his career, as he likes to say, when it comes to acting or when it comes to his overall music performances, whether it's rap or whatever it may be. What's interesting here has a lot more to do with how Will Smith only made things worse in recent weeks, especially after the most recent concert of his, where a lot of people were actually making claims about pointing out specific scenarios where his crowds seem to be very much generated. That actually seems to have struck a nerve within Will Smith, where he actually fired back at his own fans, fired back at the critics, and really turned things into political arguments, and he's continuing to do so in a very desperate attempt to really do damage control, essentially, about his floundering career, whether it be in acting or in music. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, it's pretty safe to say that Will Smith, lost a ton of his fans ever since what happened back in 2022. And can you believe that was over 3 years ago at this point? Time just flies. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with how Will Smith is doubling down on making political arguments against the general public, against his very own fans as well, when it comes to those out there pointing out some of the overall flaws in his most recent concert, and of course, the flaws within himself, trying to go back to his acting career that's just really not working out well for him. Now, we know that he's trying very hard to actually do a deal with Sony for Men in Black 5. We'll talk more about that as well. However, interestingly enough, with the Will Smith backlash still growing, not just due to the talks of him creating a generated crowd for his concert, but also due to his recent outbursts toward his own fans and also critics, one significant development now involves more to do with Will Smith snapping back again and making things even worse by saying some of the most offensive things yet. Will delivered the following. You know, the thing that really gets to me, the lack of compassion coming from the American people, and this goes for my fans too, who suddenly are giving themselves into all the BS talk about my reputation. I think the most concerning issue that we are dealing with right now is that yes, there are so many Americans showing a lack of compassion for actors and those in the arts, and respect for actors and musicians like myself. When you are someone in this business, and in show business specifically, you sacrifice so much in your life to make it successful. So I don't want to hear the one-dimensional argument that actors don't matter in our society and only hard-working American citizens do with their everyday jobs. We are privileged people because of our monetary status, and our monetary status shouldn't really have anything to do with us being so-called privileged individuals. And more often than not, those types of comments are coming from supporters of this administration. Those that actually are following Trump's policies, this administration truly changes the minds of so many good souls out there that are also American citizens. And the reasoning behind that is that they haven't picked up a book in a while to invest in themselves, to really learn about politics and how that can be abused toward many industries, and in this case, such as the film and music industries. It's supporters of this man that likes to act like a dictator that are making such bold claims about my reputation as a musician, and I don't think that they deserve their respect, that their specific critiques to be put out there. But I think you all know what I'm getting at. I will not back down from what I feel is right, and that is to revitalize my career in both music and acting. This administration is not only ripping apart our very beloved industries in show business, but they are also corrupting so many good souls out there that once had a good heart toward me and many other actors. And again, I don't want to hear about my terrible mistake I made in 2022, because I don't believe that was the core of the problem. I just think that when you take a good step back and see why we are so divided right now as a country, it all roots back to Trump and his administration and his policies. Now guys, let me say one thing about Will Smith here. Now, he's very much similar when it comes to Alec Baldwin, George Clooney, and Robert De Niro, with those other actors that really just make all these nonsense political arguments. At the end of the day, people made up their minds, right? People made up their minds as to why they walked away from Will Smith. It had nothing to do with politics. It had nothing to do with people changing their tune in politics, especially as well. It had a lot to do, and a large chunk of it had to do with the fact of what he indeed did back in 2022 at the Oscars. People actually lost a lot of respect for him and just walked away. That's really what it really all boiled down to, right? A lot of people were supporting Chris Rock, siding with Chris Rock. You know, there's a lot of fans of him, great comedian in my book at least. And when you look at Will Smith and what he did against him, it was so disrespectful. And to my knowledge, I don't think Will Smith actually dealt with any real, consequences by the law after what he did on stage there. But again, he goes on to elaborate further. And why people have so many bold, differing opinions has a lot to do with this administration and their toxic behavior. And in the end, it hits back at the creators. Actors and music artists like myself, it's a very difficult thing to register in your mind when you see no resolution in sight for this society. I will continue to revitalize my career in music, and I will continue to do so. And for those that want to obsess with their support over this administration, then so be it. I don't want your business then. My drive is to focus on my ride or die supporters who will stand by me no matter what. Those are the people that you need in your life, and those are the people that you should always stick to in life. So again, there you have it again. Will Smith bringing Trump's politics into the equation here when it comes to him obviously having an issue with the fact that there are a lot of people creating a very interesting conversation on whether or not a part of Will Smith's crowd was generated in his most recent concert. And it's a very interesting argument because, look, there are moments in that crowd where the same exact seats, the same exact people in those seats and what they're doing, it changes within seconds. And even the faces there seem very off, even the hands in some specific angles, very off. There's a lot of things to actually pick in that actual concert, and Will Smith is seemingly having a very tough time accepting the facts that there's a lot of his own fans calling it out and really not backing down from calling it out. And that's exactly why the downfall of Will Smith is actually quite worse in 2025, because now he's turning more political. He's beginning to sound more like those out there like Robert De Niro or George Clooney or Alec Baldwin, saying that people haven't picked up a book in years and haven't educated themselves in years. Stuff like that. And again, like I've said before in the past, Will Smith will continue to be Will Smith, right? He's going to continue to act like so many people are against him because of politics, when in reality, it's all rooted back to the whole Jada Pinkett Smith drama, to the Oscar slap situation, and all the stories that we heard of what happened behind the scenes time and time again. And it's a very interesting turn of events. In just a matter of 3 years, Will Smith went from, one level to actually falling down to such a low level in his acting career and even in his music career. So overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Will Smith below in the comments. Anything ranging from the most recent generated crowd drama to the whole Jada Pinkett Smith nonsense. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.